Well, the latest chapter in the never ending fight between power process and who actually gets to decide what happens to federal property. Federal Judge Richard J. Leon just slammed brakes on Donald Trump's White House Ballroom project. And we're not talking about a minor stay. We're talking about a court saying stop everything unless Congress signs off on it.
Yeah. We move on now to the major headline involving President Trump's $400 million White House ballroom. Tonight, a judge temporarily blocking the construction. The judge writing, "You don't own the White House." Tonight, the White House response. Here's Rachel Scott.
Tonight, a federal judge putting the brakes on construction of President Trump's $400 million ballroom, declaring the president of the United States is the steward of the White House for future generations of first families. He is not, however, the owner. The president has already torn down the East Wing. He plans to redo part of the West Wing as well. Our Mary Bruce spotting him up on the roof.
Mr. President, what are you doing up there?
Taking a little room.
What are you building?
The ballroom, which is on the other side.
The National Trust for Historic Preservation sued to stop the construction, arguing it requires congressional approval.
Well, we built many things at the White House over the years. They don't get congressional approval when they build in the White House. It's totally separate.
But today, Judge Richard Leon ruling no statute comes close to giving the president the authority he claims to have. He also rejects the administration's argument that stopping construction at this point would pose a security threat, writing, "The existence of a large hole beside the White House is, of course, a problem of the president's own making."
This is a preliminary injunction, which means the judge looked at the case and said the group suing National Trust for Historic Preservation is likely to win. That's serious. Now, let's be clear about what this project actually is. This is not a repainting of a wall or adding a tennis court. This is 90,000 square feet structure, hundreds of millions of dollars, built where part of the White House complex used to stand. The East Wing already demolished. This thing is in motion, and that's exactly why the court stepped in, because the judge is saying you don't get to make permanent generational changes to federal property on your own authority, even as the president. And here's the line that cuts straight through all of this. The president is the steward, not the owner. That's the whole fight. Now, the question everybody keeps asking is, why didn't they get approval beforehand? Because the administration treated this like an executive territory. Their argument was simple. It's privately funded, no taxpayer money. It's an upgrade to the White House. Presidents have made changes before. So the thinking was move forward, get it built, and deal with the politics later. And let's be honest, that's a strategy we've seen before. Move fast, establish facts on the ground, make it hard to unwind. This is what this president is good at. He's good at doing that. But here's where they ran into a wall. The Constitution doesn't care if the money is private. Congress controls federal property. Congress controls spending. Congress has oversight over permanent changes to national assets. And the judge basically said, I don't see any law that gives the president the authority to do this without Congress. That's why it was halted. Not because it's a ballroom, not because of aesthetics, but because of who has the power to approve it. Now, what's it going to take to finish this? Simple, but not easy. Congress has to pass a law explicitly authorizing the project. That's it. That's the path. And here's where it gets real. This isn't just construction anymore. This is politics. You need votes. You need buy-in. You need lawmakers willing to attach their name to this project, or the administration wins an appeal through the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit and gets the injunction lifted. But right now, it's frozen. The project is frozen. 14-day delay. An appeal filed by the U.S. Department of Justice. And then this moves into the next phase of a full legal fight. Now let's deal with the money question, because this is where people start talking past each other. The construction itself, not funded by taxpayers. That's the claim. And based on what's been reported, the building is backed by private donors. But here's the part that doesn't just disappear. It's still federal property. And once it's built, maintenance, security, operations, those are ongoing federal responsibilities. That means taxpayers' involvement doesn't vanish, it just shifts. And then the bigger questions start sitting under all this. If private donors can fund permanent changes to federal property, who decides what gets built next? That's the part that makes courts and lawmakers pause. And that's why this is just not about a ballroom. This is about the boundaries. Where does presidential power stop? Can a president bypass Congress if the money isn't public? Can private funding reshape public institutions? Or does Congress remain the gatekeeper of the money? Or what? Because right now, a federal judge just answered that question, at least for the moment. No, and not without Congress. I want to know what you guys think in the comments. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more content. I will see you guys in the next one.